Hello there, metalheads, and welcome to another episode of Metal Verbalizers podcast. We love the 80s rock and metal, so let's verbalize a band that play really good 80s heavy metal. Today we verbalize the band HITTEN. This is another one of those bands that bring us back to the golden age of the 80s, and the classic good old heavy metal at that. The band was started back in 2011 in Spain. Fun thing is that we actually recognize the lead singer, or the current lead singer's voice, from an earlier band that we have verbalized. And his name is Alex Panza, and he has been the lead singer of Cobra Spell earlier. Earlier this year, he chose to step down from Cobra Spell to put more time in HITTEN, for example. The band really do the 80s sound justice, and it is said that if you like bands like Riot, Halloween, or Firehouse, you might have a very good chance of liking HITTEN as well, because their sound is going in that direction. And maybe you have listened to Cobra Spell. And I would say that that is one of those examples as well. Maybe not that HITTEN is inspired by Cobra Spell. That I don't know. I don't know how much Alex Panza has taken into HITTEN from Cobra Spell. But the sounds are somewhat similar in some ways. And you're gonna recognize that as well when you have a listen. When it comes to the band's image, they really are going for the 80s vibe, with leather clothes and big hairs. And when it comes to the album covers, they follow sort of an 80s arcade vibe, especially the later three releases that we're going to talk about. I think that it is time to take a look at the actual releases that the band has brought out to us. And the first release that the band put out was a record called State of Shock. I think that is quite impressive to make a full-length record as your first release. Many bands make a single or two, or possibly an EP as their first release, but not HITTEN. They put out a full-length album, and that just means that the band means business, in my opinion. The album cover is quite cool as well. It is a person on the knees in front of what I assume is Marshall amps and a flying V, with a Ouija board and some candles in front of him. And also he is surrounded by lightning. I guess that ties into the album name, State of Shock. On this album we have absolute bangers like Wrong Side of Heaven. This song has a very atmospheric intro before like hell breaks loose and the song gets going. Then we have a song called Victim of the Night. This is a great song as well, and in some of the riffing I believe that I can hear some like Judas Priest influences. And like fast drums with double bass and fast guitar riffing is awesome, and that is exactly what we find in the title track for the album called State of Shock. One interesting thing is that the intro sounds more like an outro before everything takes off. And that is something that I like because it caught my attention because it was something different. So it wasn't like, whoa, what's happening? And you're gonna notice that as well. And hopefully you get what I'm talking about when you listen to it. 2 years later, in 2018, they releases another album called Twist of Fate. This is also the first album where we hear Alex Panza's vocals as the singer. He was announced as a new singer back in December of 2017, and I personally think that he is a perfect fit for the band. And the first track on the album is called Take It All, which starts off the album with a strong harmonizing guitars and Panza's powerful vocals. And another song that is great on the album is the title track called Twist of Fate. Something that I like with the vocals, which I have heard in other songs as well, is that they have in some sections doubled the vocals, where you have the main vocal together with a vocal that is like 1 or 2 octaves higher, instead of using the classic harmonizing where you use the a third between the vocals or a fifth. Music theory. Who cares about that? We're metal guitarists. This gives it a different feel than most other songs, and well, in the genre as well, since it is more common to use harmonizing vocals. We also have a song called In the Heat of the Night. Possibly a little bit slower, almost ballad feeling, but when it comes to the backup vocals in the chorus, they usually harmonize with the main vocal. But not in this case either, because in this song they have decided to have more of a shouting backup vocal, and this just fits the song perfectly. You're gonna know what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like growl shouting, but more like you're shouting to somebody on the other side of the street or something like that. Listen to the song, it's awesome. But this is just 3 examples from the album. And the album has 10 tracks in total, so there are way more awesomeness for you to check out. In 2021, we all have been through a tough year of pandemic, and obviously we all were hungry for some new awesome heavy metal. And of course HITTEN is there to calm our hunger and deliver. They started by bringing us a buffet of singles. The first one in line was Eyes Never Lie. This is a great tune where we get some clean guitar in the verse, which makes the heavy parts extra heavy. And then we get an atmospheric solo. I just say it, horns up, buddy. Next single released was called Ride Out the Storm. This storm comes with some fast and heavy riffing and all that good stuff. And this is a song where we can expect some fun sing-alongs live as well. I think that would fit very well. Hard Intentions' Secret Dancer was the next in line to be released. Here we get some chugging riffing and some melodic harmonizing guitars, and maybe this song doesn't sound too complicated, but sometimes it is the simplicity that makes it extra heavy, in my opinion. And this is one of my favorites, and it has found its way into my playlist that I listen to every day. Next up, we got a single called Something to Hide. This one starts off with an acoustic guitar, and this carries into the verse and really through the whole song. And this is one of the best ballads that I personally heard in a very long time. This also goes into my playlist easily. And I say that the acoustic guitar follows through the whole song. We do get heavy guitars as well, so don't get me wrong on that one. You're gonna like it, I just know it. Now it's time for the final single that was released, and this one is called Triumph and Tragedy. The song has got some serious 80s vibe, which I love. This is also a longer song that has got some serious mojo in some of the parts. And it almost feels like when you watch a movie that has more than one storyline in it, which together becomes just a masterpiece. 10 out of 10 recommend. When you've been through a great buffet of singles in this case, then you fancy some dessert. And of course HITTEN delivers on that one as well. As an end to an awesome year of releases, we get an album named after the final single. And we kind of have to talk about this, because I said that Triumph and Tragedy was a longer song, almost 7 minutes. That was only a single because when we hear it on the album as the final track, it has become 11.11 minutes long, or 11 minutes and 11 seconds. That is actually 4 additional minutes of pure awesomeness. Even more than 4 minutes, actually. And that is kind of crazy. The album has another 10 tracks. One where we find all of the singles, obviously. But that means that we get 5 additional tracks that we have to check out. So I could really recommend this album. The last release so far from the band came this year in 2022, which is an EP called Japanese B-Sides Compilation. This is more of a compilation with songs that we recognize from earlier albums, where 3 of them are unplugged. But there is one song that I actually don't recognize from earlier. And that's a song that you should check out as well. Because this band just brings us quality. But this was all of the releases that the band has put out so far. And in my opinion, we got some serious gems among them over the years. But to wrap things up, I can say that HITTEN is a band that I will continue to listen to and stay updated on when new stuff arrives. Or maybe they arrive in a town near me, the band themselves. Then I want to go and see them. Something that I also like is that it is quite clear that they work pretty hard and go around on playing a lot of shows all over, basically. And I think that's fun. If HITTEN is a band that sounds interesting for you, which I think it does, make sure to get over and check them out. Both on their music, obviously, but also their social media. Because there you can stay updated on what they're going to do next. And they seem actually pretty good at updating on what they're up to. So there's much information for you to check out over there. And, well, obviously, if you like what we are doing here on Metal Verbalizers podcast, bringing you some new awesome bands to enjoy, make sure to follow our socials as well, where you can be updated on what we are going to release next. And also over there, you can be the one to give us the next band to talk about. Because we always take suggestions. And some of these suggestions that we have gotten has actually become episodes. But anyway, all that is left is thank you for listening. I've been Erik, and you've been listening to Metal Verbalizers podcast, Verbalizing the band HITTEN.